First it was Sheryl Swoopes, and then now it is a good friend of hers, actually, that just lost her damn job, bruh. Yes.
Another one bites the dust. What if I told you the WNBA is systematically removing broadcasters who've spent the last year attacking Caitlin Clark? It's happening right now as Cindy Brunson, one of Caitlin Clark's most vocal critics, or dare I say haters, has been officially fired from the Phoenix Mercury broadcast team. And she's not just removed from Fever games, she's gone from all broadcasts. We'll break down who Brunson is, her history of Clark lies, and what the WNBA and Mercury did to let her go.
And I'm telling y'all right now, you gotta pay close attention to what is happening in the W, dog. I spoke about this a few weeks ago. It seemed like every person that wronged Caitlin Clark in some way, shape, or form is no longer employed, is no longer in this damn league.
This comes right on the heels of Sheryl Swoopes getting the boot from Dallas a few weeks back. And there's even more to that story that has now been revealed that we'll cover in this video. Is the WNBA finally cleaning house of the voices that have been trying to tear down its biggest star? Stick around because this shakeup is just the beginning. If you agree with these firings, comment, Sheryl and Cindy deserve it down below. Are you ready? Let's go.
Everyone else is not there. Look at Kennedy Carter. Kennedy Carter's going on streamer podcasts as of right now to try to get back in the W, bro. I mean, she's trying anything to be relevant, bro.
What if the WNBA is finally cleaning house? What if the league has realized that allowing constant lies about its brightest star isn't just bad for Caitlin Clark, it's bad for business? The evidence is mounting as another Clark critic finds herself out of a job.
Well, guess what, guys? The proof was in the pudding, because I'm here to tell you she ain't got no damn job right now, and she's going to be going on Gilbert Arenas probably for her next employment.
Cindy Brunson isn't exactly a household name, but within WNBA circles, she's been a familiar voice. As part of the Phoenix Mercury broadcast team, Brunson built a career commenting on women's basketball. But something changed when Caitlin Clark entered the league. Brunson's commentary shifted from professional analysis to something that felt increasingly personal and antagonistic.
We applaud the accomplishment, but it can't truly be appreciated. Not only, you can't truly be appreciated. She showed up to a Caitlin Clark game wearing Sheryl Swoopes shoes. Like, she is as big, like, even looking back on it, she is as big as of a Caitlin Clark hater as there's been.
The pattern began with Brunson's peculiar fixation on undermining Clark's collegiate scoring record. Instead of celebrating this historic achievement, Brunson took every opportunity to discredit it, consistently pushing Sheryl Swoopes' accomplishments as somehow more legitimate. This wasn't just a one-time comment or throwaway remark. It became a recurring theme in her commentary, a deliberate attempt to diminish Clark's achievements before she even played her first professional game. But Brunson's campaign against the Fever ecosystem went beyond just targeting Clark. She bizarrely pushed a narrative that Kelsey Mitchell, the Fever's established star at that time, wanted out of Indiana. This claim came despite Mitchell's own words and actions showing her commitment to the team. It was as if Brunson was trying to manufacture drama and division where none existed, potentially damaging team chemistry during a pivotal season for the franchise.
Obviously, we've seen her trying to basically get Kelsey Mitchell off the Fever, but someone just said stay the F away from the Fever.
The Mercury commentator didn't stop at the players. She extended her hostility to the fan base itself. Brunson's comments about Fever supporters crossed the line from basketball analysis to inflammatory attacks. She seemed particularly bothered by the surge of new fans Clark brought to the game, treating them not as welcome additions to women's basketball, but as unwanted interlopers who didn't deserve a voice.
Cindy Brunson is saying that she just thought it was a doppelganger situation, and that this wasn't Sydney Colson trying to make fun of Monica Stanano. Then maybe, like, it wouldn't look as bad, but her explanation was awful. But at the same time, like, it was very clearly Sydney Colson was trying to make fun of a college student. You're almost 50 years old, why are you on this app causing so much drama?
Perhaps most revealing about Brunson's agenda was her decision to mock Monica Chinano, Clark's former Iowa teammate. This showed that her negativity wasn't limited to just Clark, but extended to anyone in Clark's orbit. By taking shots at a young player who wasn't even central to WNBA storylines, Brunson revealed that this wasn't about basketball analysis. It was personal. When called out for these behaviors, Brunson's response was telling. Rather than reflecting on her commentary, she doubled down and dismissed criticism. When confronted specifically about mocking Shinano, she shrugged it off as just laughing at a doppelganger situation and insisted there was nothing deeper to her comments. This inability to acknowledge how her words might affect players or the league's image only amplified concerns about her approach.
This is the dumbest response ever. It was literally from last year, not years ago, and you were laughing at a professional WNBA player intimating that a young woman in college looks like a man. There's literally date at the bottom. So what's become blatantly obvious that you're really good at holding fans to a different standard you hold yourself, which is worse. And this would be like, she probably could have explained herself better, but like, and in fairness, she did say in hindsight she didn't. But this is the worst tweet. The pictures look like a doppelganger situation. I'm sorry that's not good enough for you, but that's the truth. And the college player was a grad student who was... What the hell does that have to do with anything?
The parallels between Brunson and Swoopes are striking. Both established women's basketball figures, both seemingly threatened by Clark's meteoric rise, and both unwilling to adapt to the changing landscape of the WNBA. As one source put it, Brunson has gone full Sheryl Swoopes, and we all know how that ended for Swoopes.
She has gone full Sheryl Swoopes, and that's not good. It's not good for basketball, it's not good for the Phoenix Mercury, it's not good for her own career. And I do hope that she just deletes the Twitter app. And that is what I've said to Sheryl Swoopes. If you are Cindy Brunson, delete the Twitter app right now.
What makes this situation particularly troubling is that it wasn't just isolated incidents or occasional lapses in judgment. Brunson engaged in a systematic campaign to undermine a player's legitimacy in the league. In any professional sport, there's room for criticism and analysis. But when that criticism becomes a personal vendetta, when it extends beyond the player to their teammates, their team, and their fans, it crosses a line from commentary to something much less professional. The Mercury organization, to their credit, finally recognized the damage Brunson was causing. Her commentary wasn't just hurting Clark, it was damaging the Mercury's brand and, by extension, the WNBA. In a league fighting for growth and mainstream attention, keeping someone on the payroll who seemed determined to tear down its biggest attraction simply made no business sense.
Not one to celebrate people losing their job, but Cindy Brunson was legit unlistenable on the microphone, and that's not even including the anti-CC stuff. Swoopes gone, Brunson gone. They're weeding out of the fools is in full swing. WNBA teams and networks continues this trend and capitalize on their new eyeballs.
The Mercury's decision wasn't a slap on the wrist. It was a complete removal. When teams typically handle problematic broadcasters, there's a well-established damage control playbook. Reassign them to less visible games, issue a carefully worded apology, or impose a brief suspension. But Phoenix chose a different path entirely, scrubbing Brunson from every single broadcast on their 2025 schedule, not just the Fever matchups.
Cindy Brunson, all right? Apparently she has been fired as well. Got clipped. And yeah, if you don't know this person, she was really nasty as well. I didn't necessarily talk about her too much, but yes, she was a nasty individual.
This comprehensive removal speaks volumes about how the organization viewed the situation. They didn't see this as a Caitlin Clark problem that could be solved by keeping Brunson away from Indiana games. They recognized it as a Cindy Brunson problem that affected their entire broadcast operation and, by extension, their relationship with fans and the league.
Like, nobody. Skip Bayless, to his credit, he knew who Lindsay Whalen was, he knew who Maya Moore was, wanted to have a conversation. So the fact that Stephen A is using my sister Sheryl Swoopes for clicks and likes is horrifying. And I implore everybody that can hear my voice to push back on Stephen A and say, why won't you have Sheryl on? Why won't you have Monica McNutt back? Because they called him out. He just doesn't want to face the truth, and he wants to line up in the narrative behind everybody else that Caitlin Clark came down the mountain with tablets in her hand to save the WNBA.
What's particularly telling is the timing. The Mercury waited until after the 2024 season concluded before making this announcement. This wasn't a knee-jerk reaction to one inflammatory comment or a hasty decision made under public pressure. It suggests a deliberate, calculated evaluation of Brunson's overall impact on their brand. The organization took their time, assessed the situation thoroughly, and made a strategic decision away from the immediate spotlight of an ongoing season.
Here's a news flash. The W didn't need saving. It just needed promotion. The product has never been the problem. It has always been the promotion. And part of the problem comes from the fact that Stephen A. Smith makes more money than God. So when it came to showing games at different times of the day and getting advertisers to line up, they had to pay Stephen before they could do right by the WNBA at ESPN, which is why ESPN lost out on this new multi-billion-dollar deal that involves 3 different platforms outside of ESPN. I just wanted to get that off my chest.
The announcement itself was notably understated. Brunson's name simply vanished from the team's broadcast lineup for 2025. No dramatic press release, no public explanation. Just absence. This quiet approach suggests the Mercury wanted to move forward without drawing additional attention to the controversy, treating it as a business decision rather than a public spectacle. Fan reactions throughout the season likely played a significant role in this decision. Social media was ablaze with criticism of Brunson's commentary, with viewers becoming increasingly vocal about their dissatisfaction. One fan on Twitter didn't mince words. "She is just 100% a disgrace. No if and or buts about it. Has no business being in any sports job, period." Another pointed out what they saw as an attention-seeking pattern. "She is clearly trying to get attention. If you notice, before she joined the hate wagon, she barely had any interaction on her page. Joins the haters, and now she has more engagement. How sad to treat young women the way she is. Phoenix Mercury should be embarrassed."
So, would you say you're protecting or helping Caitlin Clark with this type of statement that you dropped last year? How about you press Sheryl Swoopes to do the right thing and stop picking on Caitlin Clark? Stop saying nonsense about Caitlin Clark. Stop the race hate with Caitlin Clark. You so ready to press somebody, press your friend, press your sister.
These weren't isolated complaints. The groundswell of negative feedback created substantial pressure on the organization to take action. When fans start directly tagging your team account to express embarrassment about your broadcaster, that's a problem no sports franchise can ignore. Behind the scenes, it's reasonable to assume the Mercury faced pressure from multiple directions. While specifics of internal communications aren't public, the comprehensive nature of their response suggests the concerns weren't limited to fan reactions alone. The WNBA itself, invested in protecting its image and the marketability of its rising stars, may have exerted influence. Sponsors, too, likely raised eyebrows at commentary that undermined one of the league's biggest draws.
It seems like the WNBA is listening to the fan base, right? Not just going after podcasters or just YouTubers, but going after the ones that are tied into the WNBA media. And I'm glad to see this, man. I'm glad to see them cleaning it up. Because last year was abysmal, man. Was abysmal. I mean, you had asinine take on asinine takes, all right? And it really had nothing to do with basketball. They just hated this woman. Hated this young lady, man. And it was ridiculous.
The Mercury's decision also coincides with the WNBA's broader initiatives to combat toxicity in the league. The establishment of a task force specifically focused on addressing hate within women's basketball demonstrates an evolving perspective at the highest levels of the organization. Brunson's removal isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a shifting landscape where antagonistic commentary toward the league's stars is no longer acceptable business practice. What makes this action particularly significant is that it wasn't taken halfway. The Mercury didn't try to find a middle ground or test the waters with a limited punishment. They made a clean break, signaling to everyone, fans, players, sponsors, and other broadcasters, that certain behaviors have consequences. This wasn't about silencing criticism of Clark or any player. It was about maintaining professional standards in their broadcast team.
The Phoenix Mercury revealed a revamped 2025 local broadcast lineup without any mention of Cindy Brunson.
The Mercury's decisive action raises an interesting question. Was this an isolated team decision, or part of something much larger? As it turns out, another domino has fallen in what appears to be a league-wide house cleaning, and this time, it involves Clark's most vocal critic.
It looks like the Dallas Wings have left off Mrs. Sheryl Swoopes on the broadcasting team for the 2025 season. If you guys remember, Sheryl Swoopes, she was on the broadcasting team last year, right?
The Dallas Wings' removal of Sheryl Swoopes from their broadcast team initially seemed like a single organization taking a stand. But now there's concrete evidence of something more coordinated happening behind the scenes. In a move that's sending shockwaves through WNBA media circles, Swoopes has been quietly scrubbed from the league-sponsored Queens of the Court podcast. This isn't speculation. The podcast's cover art has been updated to remove her image, and her name has vanished from recent episode credits.
But now there's a story that goes with it. It looks like they booted Swoopes from the Queens of Court podcast. Now, Just Jordan has a podcast and she has guests on. The WNBA listened to the new fans, looked at the facts, and acted accordingly. And we all know this was a Caitlin Clark hate fest last year, right? I mean, seriously. And there they are. That's the old cover for the podcast. And this is the new one.
What makes this second removal so significant is its timing. Rather than allowing the Dallas situation to blow over as an isolated incident, the WNBA has taken additional steps to distance itself from Swoopes. The podcast removal wasn't announced with fanfare or explanation. It happened quietly, almost as if hoping no one would notice. But when a Hall of Famer disappears from league-sponsored content shortly after being dropped by a team, it's impossible not to connect the dots. This pattern reveals something deeper about Swoopes that goes beyond her comments about Caitlin Clark. Her coaching tenure at Loyola University Chicago offers illuminating context. After a mass exodus of players, Loyola fired Swoopes amid troubling reports about her treatment of student athletes. Former players described an emotionally volatile environment where Swoopes would cry during games and practices, threaten scholarships, and inappropriately share personal information.
Loyola University basketball coach Sheryl Swoopes, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players.
College coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
One former Loyola player, Kate Swan, delivered a particularly damning assessment. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great coach. This history of belittling and humiliating players at Loyola creates a concerning pattern that continued into her broadcasting career, where her comments about Clark weren't innocent mistakes but appeared calculated to diminish a rising star's achievements.
That she mistreated players.
It was the environment she created. I was belittled, humiliated, made to feel extremely small.
Head coach since 2013. Last year, 5 of her players reportedly transferred to different programs. And this year, a reported 10 of the team's 12 players aren't planning on coming back.
Remember those comments about Clark being in her 5th college season when it was actually her 4th? Or the absurd claim that Clark took 40 shots per game? When Swoopes dismissed Clark's record-breaking performances with, "So is it truly a broken record?" I don't know. I don't think so. It wasn't just criticism. It was part of a deliberate campaign to undermine Clark's legitimacy.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
The simultaneous removal of both Swoopes and Brunson from their respective roles around the same time points to a deliberate, league-wide strategy. 2 former players, 2 broadcasters, 2 vocal Clark critics. Both gone. The mathematical probability of these being coincidental decisions is virtually zero. While the WNBA hasn't issued explicit statements about maintaining professionalism in broadcasting, their actions speak volumes. By removing voices perceived as detrimental to its rising stars from both team broadcasts and league-sponsored content, the WNBA is sending an unmistakable message about the type of commentary it wants associated with its brand.
Ops are dropping. First Sheryl Swoopes, now Cindy Brunson. Who else of the Hatelins got the axe this season? So, you mean to tell me that the NBA, and by default trickling down, as in Adam Silver probably called Kathy Engelbert and said, you know what we're going to do here? We're not going to have all this hating on the player I did a video on earlier, the women's player, the female player that is second in NBA jersey sales.
This coordinated effort suggests WNBA leadership is taking a more active role in shaping the public perception of its players, particularly its bankable stars. The league appears to recognize that protecting players like Clark isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about protecting their investment in the future. When your rookie phenom generates unprecedented viewership, merchandise sales, and mainstream attention, allowing broadcasters to undermine her legitimacy is simply bad business. The question now becomes, who might be next? Are other broadcasters who've been critical of Clark reassessing their approach? Has a new standard been established for how commentary should be delivered? The message seems clear. Criticism must be fair, accurate, and professional, or there will be consequences.
Somebody got the memo about revenue. And this is a good look. It is. I'm not going to act like it's not. Sounds like the league's getting more professional, getting rid of the clowns. G-Unit pointing it out. NBA would increase the WNBA's revenue sharing pie, but it would insist on having say in who the WNBA uses as their mouthpieces. G-Unit, pretty smart on this one. Maybe broadcasters realize the Caitlin Clark fan club has the biggest fan base. Just hope the replacements are more unbiased.
The numbers don't lie, folks. The 2024 WNBA season just delivered record-breaking viewership, and it's no coincidence this happened during Caitlin Clark's rookie year. The league is finally waking up to what fans have known all along. Stars like Clark aren't just players, they're the future of the entire operation. By cutting ties with toxic voices like Brunson and Swoopes, the WNBA is sending a clear message ahead of 2025. The days of tearing down rising stars are over. Women's basketball deserves better, and it's finally getting it. If you agree with these firings, comment, "Sheryl and Cindy deserve it," down below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.